I got you.
All right, Carlos, you take the lead.
Sure. Welcome to Mandalicious, the Super Geeks Mandalorian After Show. We've got lots to talk about today as we talk about Mandalorian Chapter 5, which had a lot going on and maybe not a lot going on. So we've got George Silsby here with us today, and Sunseal and Justin Burton. So we're unfortunately, Sean is wearing pants and is sick, so both those things made him unable to join us for today's show. But we'll try to bravely continue on in his stead. So let's start out by just going around and checking in. How did everyone? Did you like the show?
It was a good filler episode, but you could take it or leave it. If this episode, if you started later on after the season ended, and you never cut, and somehow this episode wasn't in the playlist, you wouldn't notice it. It didn't further the plot. It was a filler episode. It was the true filler episode. Because a lot of people called last episode a filler, but it wasn't. It actually furthered the plot, set up a lot of things. This one was just him having shit to do on a layover, and they threw in the big space battle that we haven't seen yet. The action scenes are always good. They had some interesting new characters that came on. It was entertaining. It was heavy on nostalgia and fan service to the point of, did I tell you we're on Tatooine? Oh look, I'm a rogue sitting in the same seat that Han was when he shot first.
Look, they let droids in now.
There you have a bartender who's a droid. One of the stupidest arguments I've seen is people go, well, here's proof. They're like, we don't see the scorch mark where Greedo shot at Han. We're behind that guy. So that proves Han shot first. And everybody has been countering back at those people saying, no, it could also mean that within 5 years they actually cleaned the scorch marks. It has been a few years. So you get weird arguments like that.
I stay out of those arguments because they cause headaches and they get me unnecessarily angry at the silly remarks.
It's just I just throw up my hands because it's like I can't even believe people are wasting breath arguing about this.
It's so stupid. Doesn't that mean it's just such
people arguing about scorch marks are fucking nerds?
No, that gives true nerds a bad name.
Nerds nerds explain everything. Only idiots argue about scorch marks on a wall.
All right, so Justin, since you're talking, what did you think of the Gunslinger?
I gotta agree with George on this one. And I think it's a filler episode. It really doesn't advance the plot too much. I guess it was just something that he just went somewhere and did something and got shot at. That happens pretty much every episode. It really didn't advance the plot much other than the lady helping them with preparing the ship and introducing her. Now, whether or not she becomes a part of the cast later on, that remains to be seen.
Recurring, probably, but that's...
I think we only got, 2 more episodes left this run?
3 more.
Okay. And so,
6, 7, 8.
They got a lot to do with not a lot of time left, so hopefully they can, kind of advance it far enough to what we're thinking is going to happen.
Yeah. That film, the comedian, I forget her name, if you remember.
Amy Sedaris.
Yeah,
let's hold that thought because I want to get Sun, and then we'll come back and do a more general discussion, if that's all right. Sun, what did you think?
A lot of people keep saying the same thing. This is a filler episode. This is a filler episode. I honestly think that this entire episode was a big setup for something later on.
That feeds into a George Silsby conspiracy theory, doesn't it?
No, not that one. No.
Didn't you make a comparison to a Doctor Who episode or something?
Yeah, no. The idea, your theory that we're going to see Luke in the Mandalorian.
No, I mean I'm talking about her in the chat. Our private chat the other day, she was saying something about it reminded her of how there were plot points
It reminds me of a Moffat. It reminds me of several different Moffat episodes. It's like, why are we on this planet of goo people? Oh,
yeah.
I don't know. The
but,
Moffat episodes still made more sense than this one did to me, but
honestly, think
But the only thing that they could actually do, I think, would be at the end part there, where you see the person standing over her body.
In this
That
both-
could be something.
I mean this both ways.
yeah, that definitely means something.
I mean this both ways when I say this was a setup. That this episode was a setup for something later, and this whole episode was a setup to try and get the Mandalorian dead.
I don't know about that one.
What? How do you mean?
Because the first thing we see is a bounty hunter chasing the Mandalorian, blowing out his shit, and trying.
Well, sure, but hasn't the objective been to kill him for a while now?
Well, yeah, but I have to explain the episode. So if we're going to do that, go on to do that.
Well, I mean, I'd like to hear your theory.
Okay, well, basically, yes, you had the guy that was chasing the Mandalorian at the beginning. And I'll be perfectly honest, the guy was just kind of hammering the Mandalorian, right? The Mandalorian ship, just absolutely hammering it. And then for no reason just kind of stops and then lets the Mandalorian get one over on him. That seems weird to me.
I didn't get that impression whatsoever.
Well, actually, if we can skip ahead to my reaction, then we can come back to it because it's completely connected to what you brought up, which is what I found to be a troublesome opening sequence in this episode of The Mandalorian. It was a lackluster a space battle. We didn't really have any stakes. There were no stakes other than, him trying to avoid getting killed. But, and the way he got out of it, the old, put on the brakes and shoot him from behind maneuver we've seen so many times that it just didn't do anything for me. And so I ended up feeling like there wasn't much at stake and that it was really just an excuse to get him down to Tatooine. And my feeling, I agree with the rest of you. Most of the rest of you, that this felt like a filler. But honestly, with only 8 episodes in a season, I don't think the producers thought of this as a filler episode. And so I tend to fall more along into line with what Sun's theory is, that this is a setup for something. And because I don't think they're wasting any episodes. This isn't like a 22 or 23 episode season like we saw we see on the broadcast networks, and where sometimes you just don't have enough ideas to make every episode a slam bang kind of episode.
Yeah, true.
So I feel like it feels like a filler. We didn't get a lot of progression in the plot, but it is a setup, and I think that's linked to that last scene where we see the mercenary's body and someone approaching it at the end. But we can go on more about that theory. But I will start out with this whole idea that that first space battle just. I don't know what they were thinking there. I think
that was just to have a space battle because they haven't had one yet.
I know, but it was like there was nothing to that space battle. It was
boring.
Literally pew, pew, pew. Yeah, it was like pew, pew, pew from behind, break, boom, pew, 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 blow up.
And then you're sitting there like, okay, maybe he's going to be stranded in space. No, just power down, restart the ship. What?
Yeah, that felt a little too easy to me too. It's like, how does that fix anything? Like, it looked like he sustained pretty heavy damage. So I don't know. I felt like it didn't start off the episode very strongly.
Is anyone else getting tired of him getting his ass kicked and having to take a while to beat people?
No.
Really?
Actually, that doesn't bother me.
I think they've overdone that a little bit.
It's a good plot point, I think.
I think that there was a line that they crossed where I want him to be more two steps ahead of everybody than he's been.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have a plan, dude. Like, what's his plan? His plan is keep Baby Yoda safe.
Right.
Don't get killed because they're coming after me. I mean, he really does not have a plan. Like, there's no specific place he's trying to go to. Yeah, he's planet hopping.
He is literally leveling up in the show. Like, I would have hoped his ship was a little bit better at handling space combat than it was. But
it really is a
somebody was
in
watching.
That sense. The Mandalorian has no plan and is constantly getting his ass kicked in the first act, and then gets revenge in the second act.
Possible. If you look at it like the Western...
Yeah, I mean, and that's a really dangerous pattern to fall into from a series perspective, because, and that's where I feel like, Disney has this big hit on its hands with The Mandalorian, and they've done really well so far. But this episode is like a chink in the armor, I feel. I think that it exposes some potential fundamental problems in the pacing of the series, not the pacing of each episode, but the pacing of the series. You can't afford to let this become a formula show.
Right.
And when they chose to model this on a Western, and I think I mentioned this a few weeks ago, that was they were opening the door to that kind of a problem. There's a reason, like, people don't make Westerns anymore. People don't watch Westerns anymore. As a genre, there's the one-off that is really good and people will see that. But as Westerns back when I was a kid and before that, Westerns were like, there was like, a dozen of them on television, and they started on radios. Gunsmoke was the longest running network drama at the time. I mean, it was a big deal, and then it just, you hit the 70s, and it just ended up Westerns. People lost interest in Westerns because they felt hokey. There were so many cliches and tropes, and they just didn't make them anymore.
Well, I was like, same thing with whenever they did the great country show Purge, and a couple of years later, whenever they wiped all the country shows off, like Green Acres and all that. I mean, it's they stuff only stays a trend for so long, and then they just get rid of it.
Well, I mean, Westerns were more than a trend. I mean, to be fair. I mean, I'm not really disagreeing with you, Justin, but I don't think they were like a trend. I mean, they started on radio, they were in movies, they moved to television. I mean, that shows a lot of strength from a storytelling premise, but it ran into some realities, harsh realities of life in the late 60s and into the 70s, where just people were like, it's like,
yeah, I agree with you there.
And my feeling is that
the biggest thing was that people got tired of the romanticism of the Wild West.
Yeah, I think, and am I wrong? I mean, do you guys feel like what I'm saying is off base here?
You got it right. Because, I mean, okay.
I think I think you're right. Yeah.
We like the country music theme of this show. The country, theme overall. But
dude, I think you're mixing up what we're talking about. Country themes on TV are totally different than a Western, because they're not the same. They're not the same thing.
Western theme
right.
with this. I mean. Yeah,
the expanding to the West, the savage frontier, the lawless land. That's the Western.
Yeah, but where does it work with Star Wars? That's the thing.
I think it can work with Star Wars, but you have to be really. I mean, because the setup here, story-wise, is one that I think offers a lot of possibilities. The idea that this is right after the fall of the Empire, and you still have pieces of the Empire that are still around, and I mean, Imperial credits are still being used for money in some places, but not in others. We've seen that so far. You have warlords rising up. We know the First Order is coming. So there's a lot. The chaos as you move from one formerly entrenched system, very highly centralized system of government, into one that's forming and much more diffuse and all of that, so that there's no real norms and things are different from planet to planet. All of that offers a lot of potential for some really great storytelling.
I think
But-
there's one. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead and finish. I think.
What just came to me is that I think one of the big key comparisons when your Western takes place in that whole 1800s, I just realized that the key thing that's Star Wars-ish is they just got out of a civil war. One side, the one side beat the other, and and everybody's adjusting to that. And in that sense, it would be like watching a Western that takes place right after the American Civil War. Like Jonah Hex in the DC Comics was a former Confederate, and he ended up becoming a bounty hunter. And everybody still has the resentment against one side or the other. Well, that's kind of some of the things we're dealing with on the
no, I think you're spot on, George. I think the whole notion of a civil war combining the aftermath of a civil war with this sort of big frontier and stuff is exactly what they're going for here. I don't want them to fall into the tropes, fall back onto these tropes. They need to keep the storytelling fresh. They need to, it concerns me, although I think they're going to address this, but it concerns me that so far it's still just him and Baby Yoda.
There is one thing that was mentioned last episode. Last episode. That really, I don't know if it was last episode or the one before, but in all the books, even though they were canon, like Aftermath and things that were trying to fill in the time period between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens before the show came out, they always had said that one of the problems with the vacuum of beating the Empire was that the pirates and the smugglers and everybody were having a field day, and that people wanted order. And that's what the First Order took advantage of, was there was an area of space there where the New Republic was so busy trying to wipe out the remainders of the Empire that pirates and smugglers, there was no law enforcement in certain areas, so they were going crazy with raiding and all that stuff because everybody else was busy.
Sure,
but
have
what
we
was
really
mentioned?
seen that
hold
here?
on, I'm getting to that. But in this show, I mean, that was what was said in those books.
Sure.
But what I've noticed, and maybe that comes later when the First Order has a reason to step up. But what I've noticed is they went out of their way to mention that. Oh no, they mentioned like this episode because when we get to Tatooine, we learned it's a totally different Mos Eisley, a totally different, because the New Republic have made it so that even crime lords like the Hutts it's like after the feds went crazy against the mob. They're making it very hard for the crime lords. Unlike the Empire, the New Republic are cracking down on the Hutts and the crime lords, even in places like Tatooine, to where the Hutts don't have the kind of power they did before. New Republic are cracking down. They went out of their way to mention that. So that's something to pay attention to because it's the landscape and what's going on politically.
Well, and that I think is an interesting landscape. I'm not sure it's the landscape we've really gotten so far.
Only that they mentioned that.
They mention it, but TV and movies are about showing, not telling. So
you ever notice? He sometimes has a hard time finding work, and it takes a while to find work because it seems like when there was plenty of crime syndicates openly in power, they had plenty of bounties to pass out. But now that's why the droid was pointing out. He was pointing out how things are, and that young guy was pointing out, getting a good gig as a bounty hunter isn't as easy because of the New Republic, and. Those books mention that that's the thing that the First Order took advantage of, was coming in to create law where there was lawlessness. Even though it was the First Order, the public welcomed it because it was getting out of hand. So I'm thinking that's coming.
Sure, but you know what? We're not seeing very much of that.
Right.
Like the period.
Yeah.
This should be the period of maximum chaos. Honestly, because it's right after the fall of the Empire.
5 years after, but still.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, but we're not seeing a lot of chaos, honestly.
Yeah, we should see all types struggling and
Well, he's only gone to certain outer rim type planets.
I know, but we're more than halfway through this season, dude.
Yeah.
If this is a big theme for the entire show, long term, it's something we should be seeing more of.
Maybe that's season 2's theme.
That's ridiculous to wait.
I agree.
It really is.
And that's stupid because we got 3 episodes left. That's a lot of story to tell between now and the end of this season. I mean, they're going to be doing any big reveals like you think. I mean, they're really kind of far behind on the storyline.
So Do we want to talk about the theories about the guy in black at the end yet, or wait?
Well, let's hang on to that for a minute and just
Okay.
walk a little bit through the
Okay.
through the episode and just kind of see what we thought about that. So we talked a bit about the opening firefight in space.
Which Justin keeps replaying for us.
Right, and I mean, you have to love the visuals of this show. I mean, I do, but I won't belabor the point. You know what I think about this, about how they staged that fight. But so now we know that they're going to he's going to Tatooine. They never say it's Tatooine. They say Mos Eisley, so we know
Yeah.
what it is. And what did you think of the Mos Eisley we saw? For me, I felt like it was almost deserted. Like you didn't see very many of anything going around. And so clearly there's been some change on Tatooine.
Well, again, it goes to what the guy said about the New Republic's making life difficult for smugglers, crime syndicate people. Maybe it's just a bad area now.
Yeah, but to have no people around just is weird. Like what? Why would the mercenary? I forget. Did they have? She had a name, right?
Yeah, I forget what
which
it
is
is.
escaping me. Why go to Tatooine? Why choose that planet to be the one that you run to?
Closest one in range. Who knows?
Is it? I mean, I don't know. It's on the outer rim.
I think it was just an excuse for the script to bring you to Tatooine.
I know, and that's one of the criticisms I have about the script is it's just everything is just a little too convenient. He lands at Mos Eisley. He needs to pay for repairs. He doesn't have enough money, and look, he just happens to run into a big enough bounty to pay off to pay for the repairs.
Setup.
What was that?
This is part of the theory. It's a setup. It was a setup.
It's possible.
Space battle was a setup to get him to the planet. Oh, he has no money. Well, just conveniently, here's this rich.
Oh, are you talking about an in-universe setup?
Yes.
I don't know that.
Okay.
I literally mean both when I say this.
Yeah.
This
gotcha.
episode was a setup for something for an episode later, and this was an in-universe setup.
I almost would believe it, except that guy was legitimately surprised when Mignon's character told him about he said the child, the look on his face. He honestly had no clue what he was getting into with the Mandalorian.
Well, he himself might have been a pawn.
That's true. Good
I mean,
point.
the whole thing has been pawns. The space guy, the space guy's just pounding on the Mandalorian, and then when the Mandalorian breaks, that's a pretty obvious break, dude. He's going to.
I would like to believe you, son.
The hell off.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would like to believe you. I would like to believe that there's been enough forethought into the longer arc of the season for that to make sense. And I hope I'm wrong that I don't think that's what's going on. I want you to be right. I want you to be right, but I just haven't. The only shred of hope on screen that gives some credence to your theory is that end image. With her mercenary on the ground and someone walking up to it.
I mean, he literally gets to the planet and he finds the one dude who's offering work, and the dude's not even like a normal bounty hunter. Dude's just a rich asshole kid who wants to get in with the cool kids.
This episode was both written and directed by Dave Filoni, and since I know Dave Filoni's style from Clone Wars and Rebels, it's really
how do you think it measures up?
As far as his other things?
Yeah, like given the stuff you've seen him write and direct before.
Well, that's why I'm starting to think that Son is onto something, because he does do the Moffat thing a tiny bit. He doesn't do it in a long arc form. He does it in this isn't as simple as it looked, and it has a meaning later, but not like across an entire season's worth of stuff. But for these last three, yeah, he very well could mean something.
I hope you're right.
He did that in Rebels. There was like a thing with these Force Wolves that met Kanan and Ezra, and the audience kept thinking there were certain things that happened in the episode that are going to pay off later, and they did, and it was important. So it's possible. it looked like a one-off thing. Yeah, he has a precedent.
Okay, well,
So
since
since
enough
he
for
wrote
you
it
to
and directed it, it's possible.
yeah. No, I mean he's the head guy doing it, so that is a piece of evidence in favor of that theory. So, like I said, I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
But see, that's the thing. That's I don't think a lot of people have really picked up on it. The kid was literally just like one of those rich asshole kids that wants to get into the cool crowd.
He
Yeah.
he was rich.
Yeah, do you remember what happened at the end? The Mandalorian takes his pouch of whatever the hell money he has on him, and he empties it on
Which seemed really convenient to me. Like the way he got rid of him and got his money, it's like it. I had to go back and watch that scene because it happened so fast. I was momentarily distracted. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah.
Justin, what we're seeing Justin share. I've heard some people talk, and I don't think this is crazy. She might not be dead. That was a gut shot, and we saw her laying on the ground. She could be like in bad shape.
Oh, I'm pretty sure she's alive.
Yeah,
I think she's alive. I think she'll be saved by. I think that's Bill Burr's character from next episode. He's supposed to be a bounty hunter, but he dresses just like what we've seen for the black coat and everything. So supposed to be leading a team of mercenaries, and there's a Jawa. I don't know. It's in the description for next episode. It's not a spoiler. But I think she's alive.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about Amy Sedaris and Baby Yoda.
She looks so different than when she did Strangers with Candy. Holy crap.
Yeah. I actually didn't recognize her at first.
I'm not familiar with her except for Saturday Night Live.
I didn't recognize her either until she started using certain mannerisms around Baby Yoda. Because during Strangers with Candy, she had to take care of a baby at one point, and the mannerisms were the same.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I thought that she was a good character. Kind of reminded me of their attempt to make a Tig Notaro type, but she wasn't given very good dialogue in this episode. She pulled it off good with what she had, sort of like any of the prequel actors. We know that they can act, but they were given George Lucas's dialogue, so you have to deal with the wooden, dialogue. But I thought that just everything she did was it wasn't funny. It was cute, and I thought she just was a convenient character to take care of Baby Yoda, which is fine if he has shit luck with the Force, where someone always wants to take care of him. That's fine. That's a shtick. But
okay, wait a minute. Am I going insane, or did Baby Yoda actually call her Mama at one point?
He didn't speak. They have certain...
Because I'm pretty sure... Because this whole episode, it was weird to me how Baby Yoda had, like, actual baby sounds this episode. And has been, like, mostly silent for the whole...
A lot of people have been trying to...
He coos. He's been pretty regularly cooing.
And when she's taking care of him, he basically goes, Ma. One point.
I didn't catch that. I'll have to watch again.
I
want to see what the subtitles say, too. That helps sometimes clarify what
I can tell you because I actually watch it with the closed captions, and all it says is the child coos.
Oh.
So the subtitles aren't always as informative as you hope they'd be, but P.S. I love the pit droids. They were a highlight for me. They're so
I always
cute.
hear mixed things. I have people who hated the prequels will be like, I didn't need to see them again, and then other people are like, oh, I like them.
No, it made total sense though. Because the Mandalorian hates droids.
Well, also they're from Tatooine, or they were in Tatooine in the Phantom Mists. Call back to. There's no reason not to have them. Just like there's no reason.
This episode, I mean, minus the part at the end, I could have done without this episode.
So, I mean, she's an engineer. Pit droids make sense.
Yeah.
Yep. Technician, engineer, whatever she is. She was awfully convenient as a character for him to run into.
That's why I kind of thought maybe she'll go with him on this one, but no.
I never thought that.
No, I think what we've seen, and this is actually something that I think is great about the show, is that it attracts amazing guest stars.
Like Bonanza.
Like what?
Bonanza used to have the amazing guest stars.
Right, yeah. So we've seen. I mean, Ming-Na is a great actor, and she has been in so many different franchises and always pulls it off. She's a great actor. Amy Sedaris, we had Nick Nolte before, and so forth. So we're seeing a lot of, really famous actors taking guest starring roles on here, and that was definitely a highlight of this episode. Unfortunately, I think they used it to sort of patch up some of the story problems in it, and Amy Sedaris' character is a really good example of that. She did a great job acting, but they really didn't give her much to do, other than
babysitting,
which isn't very woke,
right.
but
I mean, having her run around and chase after them or something, or go on a hunt would have been at least something.
Well, it's only a 39-minute episode. It's not like you have a lot of time for that kind of this is a subplot-free show.
I do like their time management. I do like the time management shows had getting to the meat of the episode. If you're going to do a short episode, then jump to the point without and not waste time. There's little things that bother.
And that was probably the funniest scene of the entire show to me, where she talks to the pit droid and she says, "Go get some food," and the pit droid's like, and she's like, "Something with bones in it."
Something with bones in it. Yeah, that was a good line. That one was a good line. Okay, so let's jump ahead to another problem that I saw and see what you think. Okay, so he teams up with the new kid, the new bounty hunter, and they
call
go
him
off.
The kid because I don't remember his name and I don't really care either.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was Taro something. I don't remember either. But
the kid works.
Yeah. And so they go off to find Ming-Na's mercenary character. So they seem to know exactly where she is. They get on the land speeders, or what are they called? We're seeing them right now.
Speeder bikes.
Speeder bikes. Yeah, speeder bikes.
Well, he said get us a couple of. I don't know if he said speeder bikes or speeders. This obviously was meant to be an analogy for horses. Obviously, the way they handled it in this.
But
oh, sure.
Again, this is how you know that the kid is like just this rich asshole. He literally just gets speeder bikes for no reason.
Yeah, he did say speeder bikes. I remember now because again, this is meant to be like the riding out in the western.
Yeah, which is fine.
You wouldn't get that with a regular speeder.
Right. I mean, there could be any number of reasons why they got those instead of a true land speeder. But
we do just split up and everything too. So yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But so they go off in search. They figure out where she is, and she obviously knows they're there because she left the trap with the dewback and the other bounty hunter. So why does she just wait there for them on the high ground? Like, why?
Because it's a setup.
Well, that does go to your theory. I'll grant you that. But it just seemed to me like if I'm, trying to get away from these people, and I know they're coming after me, and I have the high ground, and it becomes clear to me that they're going to wait until it's dark, why not get the hell out of there? Like, go somewhere else. Where was she headed before all this happened? Because they're just waiting. I
the funny thing is that it's really hard to. But
no, go ahead and finish. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, there's literally no wrong answer. It's she literally could have just been waiting to pick off people following her, making sure she had for the next group of whoever come looking for her that she has plenty of time to take off again. We get back into the same argument from last episode, which is how do those scanners work, and it's really starting to look like biometric in some way. Because again, I doubt she has an implant too. I mean, it's just not logical. So those fobs got to work by bio data or something, DNA scan, Star Wars shit. I don't know what else.
I mean,
could possibly be.
I don't know. It just seemed like a kind of a.
Either she was waiting to.
It just didn't seem like a very inventive way to stage a fight,
Well, if they didn't have the flares, she would have killed them. If he didn't have the Beskar.
The whole interaction kind of reminds me of the Sniper Wolf fight from Metal Gear Solid, where essentially this lady sniper is down a really long corridor, and you really can't face off with her until you have a sniper rifle of your own. But she is literally able to sit there and wait and pick you off. Even waiting, she like sits there and waits for you to go and get a sniper rifle and come back, and she's still sitting there waiting to pick you off.
Well, that is a tactic most of the snipers use, like in World War II and things like that. If you have the high ground in the perfect spot, you wait for the enemies to come to you. I mean, before you do any kind of, if you're in the best spot, you don't like lose that spot. It does make sense of her if she knows these people are after her to take advantage of the high ground. If she's got supplies and she's secure and she's got the whole desert in front of her, she has night vision. She had a major advantage at getting rid of them, and getting rid of them and having time to take off after that. Maybe even using their bikes or whatever. But then it could also be what some saying. It could have been part of the character going to look at her she might have been part of that crew in the setup. And there is a mercenary group next up, so she might be part of that, and that it was all planned out. I'm starting to lean towards that theory now.
There's a thing that exists in the Star Wars universe that I think most people kind of have forgotten exists at this point in Mandalorian. Bacta. The healing waters. Bacta.
Yeah, what about it though?
Well, if she's not dead, what are you going to do? Stick her in a Bacta tank. She's injured.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's literally, to me, that's the end conclusion of this episode. Is the dude she was supposed to rendezvous with, which she's trying to convince the young rich kid to side with her. The dude she's supposed to be rendezvousing with comes out to find her. That's the end of the episode. Okay, well, he finds her injured. That means she's going to be stuck in a Bacta tank to get her healed back up.
Well, sure, but we don't know how much time goes on in between episodes, so so we don't know how soon after Chapter 5, Chapter 6 is going to happen. So, her recuperate if indeed she is we're going to see her again in the next episode, since it also deals with mercenaries. The fact that she's healed, you're just going to take for granted rather than waste time on screen doing it.
Right. I honestly feel she's not dead. The character is going to take her to get healed on whatever group she's part of. Because, kind of like what you said, she didn't really have to stay there that whole time up in the dunes, unless she just didn't have access to a ship, which would make sense. I don't know.
Yeah, we never really knew what her end game was supposed to be on Tatooine. So that's just, without knowing that, it's just all kind of speculation. But
right.
But again, it brings us back to,
we only know that she worked for all the people that
Sun
the New
is
Republic.
Right. So we'll cross our fingers, Son. And
this is one of those situations where I think this is one of those situations where in a lot of the Mandalorian, it's hard to make too many theories. People still could be right about any of the theories on Baby Yoda. He could be a clone of Yoda. He could just be that race, and they know that they're like high midichlorian count or whatever the case, and they want to harvest that for some reason, or the long life. There could be so many reasons why they want Baby Yoda.
Yeah, but we don't. Again, we're 2/3 of the way through the first season, and we've had no indication of that since the first episode or two, I guess.
I'm hoping by at least the season finale we're going to get some kind of a clue.
I agree with you. If they didn't, that would be a huge mistake. And
hey, brings up a good point. Adam Owen in chat says he wondered if folks figured Yope's not Boba Fett.
What was that?
Yope's cloak figure.
Boba Fett. I hope not.
Boba Fett. Yeah, I hope not either.
I've never been a Boba Fett fan.
Same.
And
well, my theory has been that the enemy. You know what my theory is that it's Luke, but my reasons why are different than they were. Like just hoping he would be on the show. It's because of things happening on the show. But that's a different situation. I think that it could be Boba Fett, but I don't know why. I mean, yeah, Boba Fett's a Mandalorian, but he could be going after the baby too. So it's possible. I mean, it's not going to excite me if it is Boba Fett, but it's not going to be bad either. It could be someone we don't expect. It could also be unexpected enemy. Doesn't mean it's somebody that's from previous Star Wars
it doesn't have to be someone we know.
He's unexpected, or she unexpected. That doesn't
because what's driving the plot here isn't the fact that it's necessarily someone we know like Boba Fett. It's the fact that there is something going on. She's a part of it, and we're going to find out. I mean, that's a sufficiently valid way to keep an audience interested. I don't think they need to layer.
This is the thing, though, Carlos. Everybody's theory could be right. This, unlike people that make these wild, crazy, stupid Doctor Who theories or wild, crazy, stupid theories like when the movies are coming out for Star Wars, a lot of the things people are guessing, I would say 80% of them are plausible. There are some crazy ones.
It's not about plausibility, though. There's a lot of plausible things that aren't very interesting to want to to want to watch. So so plausible isn't like a criterion I would use to judge.
No, but there are theories that could turn out to be true, and I don't really have an argument for why they won't be true. So it's like there's not enough information yet. It's literally going to wait.
Yeah, I mean, we would have hoped they would have kind of advanced.
If somebody's right at this point about something, and they say, like, I told you Baby Yoda was a clone, they don't have bragging rights, in my opinion. You made a guess. There wasn't enough evidence to say for sure. So you made a guess. It could have been this, or this. You picked this. And I told you, and they're going to go call it. That's what everybody's going to start doing. And I'm going to say now.
Yeah, here's the problem with that.
You didn't have enough information. Good.
The problem with that, of course, there's a couple. One is we know he's not the only member of his race. We've seen other people of his race before. So
his culture, right?
So it doesn't have to be Yoda's clone. And even if it is, of course it could be a clone, but the point isn't that he's a clone. The point is, why do they want a clone so badly? And who's they? I mean, those are really the big questions. So someone going, oh, he's a clone. It's like, well, duh. I mean, the Empire clones things. So that's not a big stretch, but tell me why it's important,
Yeah, my guess would be.
Well, we also don't know. Well, we don't know if that guy, just because he had the cloning badge, that doesn't mean this baby's a clone. His job could be to get the DNA and do whatever from this baby. It doesn't mean he's a clone.
It's like advertising. They wouldn't have put it there if it didn't mean something.
Right.
So
yeah, it'll all come together. I hope before the end of the season.
I think the most out there theory that I've heard is that a Baby Yoda grows up to be Snoke.
Oh, God Almighty, no.
He's not gonna go from a 50-year-old child 20 years later being an old.
Hey, cute, adorable 10-year-old Anakin becomes Darth Vader. We've seen it before.
Snoke is completely super tall. Not only that, but Snoke is running around in the Last Jedi novelization around this time period and meets Luke before Luke figures out years later that he's a bad guy. But Snoke is active during this time period. So
yeah, well, again, I don't find what happens in the novels necessarily compelling.
Hey, maybe Snoke is the unexpected adversary. It's not impossible. Just saying.
No, I mean, I hope personally, I would.
Well, they said they're going to introduce the origin of the First Order. Snoke is a given as being possible.
Yeah, I mean, he's part of the origin of the First Order, so and we didn't learn anything about him in the actual movies, which
why not take advantage
was always
of
a sticking point for me. But yeah, I mean, he's got to come from somewhere, and he knows the Force, so it's not like he just appeared out of nowhere.
Right. He might even want Baby Yoda.
How old would Kylo Ren be during all this?
What's that?
How old would Kylo Ren be during all this?
I don't think he's born yet.
He is. He's like 4 years old.
He's a baby.
Old. He's 4 years old.
So he wouldn't.
They said he was about 4 years old during this time. We can see a 4-year-old Ben Solo, but he's not He hasn't even really become a Jedi yet. He may not even be Luke's Padawan yet. It's possible.
Yeah.
But So, anyways, yeah, any of that's possible because again, unlike my Luke theories, there's more logic to Snoke showing up because he is part of the origin of the First Order.
I agree with you on that one, George.
And they said we're going to see the origins of the First Order, so it only makes sense that Snoke will start seeing or hearing about him throughout this series.
I hope they do it this season and don't leave us on some stupid cliffhanger.
No, he could be. Well,
no, that's exactly what's going to happen. But it's not going to be.
Yeah.
We're looking at probably something that's like, at least 2 seasons away before Snoke.
Well, Dave Filoni's pattern is that he throws in characters that you want to know more of that have been in this. He sets up the new characters in the first season. Second season, well, at least in Rebels, is when he brought in Lando, Darth Vader, Leia into season 2 and then 3 and 4. He brought Grand Admiral Thrawn. Season 1 be the set up for all the new people and give them their space and get to know them. So before you
except, have we really gotten new people here that are going to stick around? I mean, we're meeting interesting people, but are they coming back? Are they going to be recurring? I mean, I assumed that the shock trooper that we met last season was joining the cast like permanently. Is that actually true?
Hey,
I don't know.
By the way, I think it is. By the way, here's a little trivia. If Sean were here, I'd probably make him. You know where the Rebel shock trooper came from? Filoni and Jon Favreau used to play the Star Wars tabletop West End role-playing game, which I used to play it too. And Dave Filoni has put in a lot of stuff he created the Imperial Security, which is like their SS, I guess you might say. They had a main character who was introduced in Rebels, and his role came from a template from the role-playing game called ISB Agent that was made up for the role-playing game. Dave put them, and he also put different types of ships from the role-playing game into the series and stuff like that. The Rebel Shock Trooper, I was looking through online the core rulebook. It's one of the things a player can pick as a template is a Rebel Shock Trooper. So he took it from that also. So if Sean were here, I'd tell him it's from the West End role-playing game. It's sort of a class. If it was another role-playing game class that you can play. But he's notorious for doing that, taking stuff from the role-playing game and put it in, making it into the Star Wars canon. So pretty positive that's where it's from. Just a little trivia.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm checking IMDb, and they do show Gina Carano as Cara Dune in 3 total episodes. So we'll see her again.
I've seen images of her with
8.
a big rifle that she.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen pictures of her with a big ass rifle right in the banner that's not been seen yet.
So it'll be another 2 episodes before we see her again, but apparently we will.
Well, even if she's not in the rest of this season, she'll show up next season.
Well, I mean, you would think they would put her in this season with much whining and crying going on about it.
No, if she's going to be really part of the show, and you introduce her in the first season, you don't wait another full season.
Yeah, they'll plop her in toward the end.
She'll probably save his ass by the finale and stay.
Well, here's what's interesting though, is they've only released the log lines through chapter 6. So which is before
they do have the descriptions up to the last episode.
Do they do? When did they release those?
The final episode, episode 8, it says it's in the IMDb under the episodes themselves. If you look up IMDb episode 7-8, episode 8 says he has an unexpected encounter, or has an encounter with an unexpected foe. That's all it says. Episode 7, I don't remember what the exact plot is, but it's supposed to have a huge Rise of Skywalker preview during the episode, and it's supposed to have some kind of Easter egg that ties into something that's going to be happening in The Last Skywalker. But I know episode 8 said he has an encounter, unexpected foe.
No, I think you're confusing. Chapter 8 does not have a plot summary out yet. Chapter 7 is the old rival extends an invitation to the Mandalorian to make peace.
I could swear I read that, but I know
not on IMDb anyway.
Well, I had to do 2 different types of searches on IMDb. If you just do the Mandalorian and go through it, but if you do specific episode IMDb
Yeah,
search,
I'm looking at the specific episodes.
I can't remember which one I searched. I could swear I read that. I could be wrong. But I thought it said unexpected foot. Because I've had other people in other forums, and they were
It's
repeating
okay,
what it said,
George.
too.
We're all wrong sometimes.
Well, no, it's not. I've had other people mention too that they read that and wondering who the unexpected foe is. So
I have to go looking for that later.
Anyway,
I'm not worried about it.
we know that Cara Dune will be back for episode 7 and 8. So yay. And I'm glad because they really badly need a character like her.
He needs like a sidekick or a partner or something. I mean, yeah, we would have figured we would already had all this, but
next episode is supposed to be the one with Bill Burr's, and the description is that he joins up with a mercenary gang or whatever. And
Right.
Bill Burr's character is probably the guy in black because he dresses in the trailer just like that. They also had this well-known. I don't know what the correct terminology is. Peter Dinklage. Do we call them dwarves now? What do we? What's the correct way to say it? Little people.
Little person.
Little person.
Little person. There's an actor who is a young guy who is becoming up and coming in that area, like Peter Dinklage, and he's playing a Jawa mercenary who's part of that group. That's supposed to be a big character.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. So they talked about him, and his IMDb has a big thing about it too. I don't know if he's a one shot, but it'd be interesting to see a Jawa that's. What's that?
I honestly think that the guy in black at the end of this episode is the warlord.
He could be, but Bill Burr dresses just like him in the trailer. Although,
Yeah, the problem with the warlord theory is that warlords have people for that. If you're a warlord, you don't go out yourself. You have people to do that.
And the description of the mercenary group makes more sense for Mignon's character to be part of.
But I'm thinking forward to 7. An old foe extends an invitation for peace.
He wasn't.
Oh,
really
see, I think that's Carl Weathers.
Oh yeah, because we know he's coming back.
Although, no, actually, we don't.
The trailer showed Carl Weathers in a scene that we've never seen before.
Well, that might have been
an unused.
You can't. It could have been unused.
Could have been a throwaway.
That's
because
true.
according to IMDb, he is only in 2 episodes. But of course, IMDb could be wrong, so we'll see. But the guy you're talking about, by the way, the Jawa guy, is Kyle Pasek or Pasek.
Yep.
I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
He's
He's actually in 6 episodes. He's in 6 episodes.
6 episodes.
Yeah, he was in Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 5, Chapter 6, Chapter 7, Chapter 8.
He must have been playing different characters then.
No, they're all Jawa. He's listed as Jawa. Yeah.
I don't remember seeing Jawas that much.
In chapters 2 and 3, he's uncredited for that role, but apparently he was in this episode. This lists him in Chapter 5. Did we see Jawas? Did I miss a Jawa?
Yeah, I don't remember. He was in the bar somewhere.
Maybe. Anyway, I'm glad he's getting work.
By the way, there was a scene. The scene with the Saint when we learned the scene where we learned that the Tusken Raiders responded, which is new. It just like the Jawas, we learned some lore about things we've seen before. But I said that, and they were like, "Well, we've never seen that they use sign language." And my argument in that thread was, we've never seen them try to do anything but ambush and kill people before. So it's kind of hard to say that they communicate, except for when they go, and then they attack. So I think it's fair to say that they're not fighting, and they haven't shown how they communicate.
Well, they're not.
So
they're not mindless. Obviously, I mean,
but we've never seen them have a conversation with somebody to say.
Well, why would we?
We
didn't need to them.
Exactly.
We didn't need to.
But when the person was arguing, that is this canon that they do this. It is now because they've never had a reason to show
people
them.
drive me crazy with
negotiate.
that.
Wait a minute.
Canon. I hate canon.
This is another one of those. Dude is just a rich asshole who wants to get into the cool kids club. Brand new view thingy. I just bought those binocs.
Oh yeah.
I mean, here's what I got to say about canon. Okay, one, why drive yourself crazy trying to make everything work? It's just a show. Enjoy the show for what it is.
Oh, I don't have a problem with people trying to make things work. What I have a problem with is people who think that if you haven't seen it on screen, that doesn't mean it can't happen.
Oh yeah, that's it.
That's the problem I have. It's like, we haven't seen them communicate, so therefore they don't. Well, you just haven't seen them communicate.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah, that drives me a little crazy. But okay.
Xbox sister all over again.
My only other thing I want to comment on about this episode is I kind of think that kid had potential as far as being a character. I think his cocky wanting to learn and all that, there was something there, but then he ended up just turning into an asshole that held a baby at gunpoint, and of course the Mandalorian had to kill him. That was a little disappointing to me, but whatever. It is what it was.
Toro Caliban was his name, by the way.
I knew he was an asshole the minute he tried to punk cock Mandalorian while he thought he was asleep, and pointed his gun at him and everything like that. Like,
that was just him being.
He's not going to survive it. The show.
That was just him. At that point, that was just him being a dink and just.
Well, yeah, but still.
But he kind of disappointed me. His character had potential to kind of. Well, then again, like somebody pointed out, he wasn't aware of the bigger bounty that was in front of him. Sure. But I do like the fact that he wasn't stupid enough to trust Mignon's character. That showed he wasn't like a typical naive person. He shot her. That's what I would have done too. So I was actually surprised.
Not very well, apparently.
We'll see, but I think you're right. It's probably
if she's dead, that last scene makes no sense.
Yeah, a headshot's the only way to know for sure.
Yeah, there's no way she's not dead.
There's a reason why most mobsters don't just leave it at one shot when they do a hit. They go boom, 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 boom. You don't just assume they're dead and walk off.
Yeah, I've
seen enough Sopranos.
I have a question this episode brought to my attention. Did the Mandalorian lose his rifle in that backwater?
I don't know why he never brought it with him out there. It would have come in handy to cross-snipe against Mignon.
It seems like he lost his rifle leaving the Bounty Hunter Guild place.
No, I thought it was silly because if he had his rifle...
He didn't even have it in the last episode either.
I think they just conveniently made him leave it behind. No, he had it last episode.
Yeah, he did, I remember.
Yeah. He was blowing people up, and Gina Carrera borrowed it too. But I think that they just had him leave it behind because if he had brought it, he wouldn't be able to do the cool flare sequence because he could just sit there.
Convenient plot point.
Yeah, but that's like no. I mean, to leave one of your most powerful weapons behind when you know you're pursuing one of the best mercenaries in the galaxy is ridiculous.
Plus, he had a much better chance than going rushing after her, and he could sit there and he could aim at her, and while she's aiming at him, and it's just.
Well, she had the high ground and cover, so
Yeah, true.
It would have been harder, but yeah, I mean that whole setup I think was the physical setup of the confrontation just was a little problematic for me. I mean they kind of forced it to make it work, but it was still just this weird. She's up here, they're down there, but they're far away.
My suspension of disbelief is getting a little pushed too unless they explain it. He's wearing this heavy armor. He's visiting all these hot worlds, and he's not even. You can't. you got to hydrate. You can't run around and stuff like that.
Oh, you can't assume that the armor doesn't take care of stuff like that.
You could have.
I just assume that it does.
I would like to. My headcanon says that's the only way to explain
I was kind of wondering that too, because you got that one part where he does a thermal scan of him, and you see his whole arm is basically warm. So you kind of got to wonder if there is any cooling in there or not.
Yeah, I mean, it's we may never find out how the armor actually works because Star Wars doesn't really explain any of its technology. So you just have to.
Sometimes you're better off not over-explaining.
Yeah, I mean, it's really not the point. It works. And the fact that he's able to, not keel over on a desert planet.
Yeah, it's got to have some kind of air conditioning. And
yeah, I mean that
maybe something that vents or he can sit with. I don't know. We don't know what's on the inside of the helmet. There could be a little.
I mean, well, you got to remember, like the first couple episodes before he even had the Beskar Kuras, his other armor had circuitry underneath it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Oh yeah, no, we know it had circuitry. Yeah.
Yeah. There's got to be some kind of other stuff going on other than just
for sure.
armor.
For sure. Like even that comment he makes to the armorer when he shows up, something about he says something like my armor's been compromised or something. That the idea, was that he is integrated into the armor. The armor is integrated into him. So it clearly is more than just, a metal shield around his body.
Right. All right.
Okay. Do we have any comments or questions in the chat room? For some reason, I have a really hard time getting the chat.
Yeah, Justin said he saw something earlier. I didn't see anything in the chat.
Yeah, no, the chat for this for Facebook hasn't loaded for me other than you joining the chat.
Justin, have you seen anything? Because you said you saw something earlier.
I guess not. Well, okay, that's cool.
Here we go. Justin just joined.
All right, what's our rating of the episode? We usually give that. I'm gonna say 5. Can't go above 5. 5 is being generous.
I think because they've done so well so far, below 5 is completely justified. I'm giving it a 4. I'm willing to go up to 6.
Oh, you're saying that they had a bar that they went below?
Yeah, I mean they set the bar, and for them to
all right. I'll agree with
you
on that, and I'll go 4.5.
Yeah, and I'm willing to bring it up to a 6 if Sun's theory is right, and this is a setup, and
I'll agree with that.
But I would go no higher than a 6 if, in the context of the whole first season,
the
episode ends up making sense.
I agree. I agree with that. I mean, I would even go as low as a 4 and then raise it up to a 6 if it turns out that this is an actual meaningful episode later on down the line, which I hope it is. Really hope this isn't just a filler episode, even though it feels like it is.
There's also a lot of things that happen behind the scenes.
Well, again, I feel like they've plotted out the entire series and probably into season 2 already. I don't think they mean for this to be a filler. They don't need filler. So it means that it's either just a badly written episode or Sun is right and it's an important piece in the big puzzle.
I said, based on Dave Filoni's past record, it could be something's going to come up.
I hope I'm wrong. So, okay. Sun, how about you? What's your rating?
Son?
You're muted, Son.
Okay. Okay. It was on the Zoom window and it wouldn't unmute. Oh well. I kind of agree. I would definitely give this a 5 or a 6, depending on whether or not there is a follow through later on. But I really think there is. Everything was too convenient for this to be just a bad episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm beginning. You're swaying me to your opinion. The more I think about it.
Well, there is other evidence that's starting to present itself as we talk. So.
Yeah, we'll see. Justin, what's your rating?
Kristen already said he agreed.
Yeah, I gotta say at least a 4 for now, and then if it goes into actual being something and actually worth it, I'll give it a 6. I mean, that's it. This is me.
4.5 for now, and then see what happens.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens then as
how high
as
I
it progresses.
How high up I go from if it turns out to be more, is how good that is as far as what they do for that.
I agree with that. I can agree with that.
But the key thing there is going to be which of the characters we saw in this episode we actually see again. And
I would say Mignon for sure.
Well, on IMDb, she's only listed for 1 episode. But again, you can't trust that.
Yeah,
so,
that's been drawn before.
Because we saw very little of her. Now, what she did, of course, was great. I mean, she was very smart doing what she did.
It would make sense for them to withhold her on IMDb if they want us to think she's dead. So
yeah, that may be the unexpected.
Just like we didn't say Baby Yoda hints because they were hiding it.
Yeah, so maybe right. But yeah, it will depend on something like that. How much people we saw in this episode, how many of them actually come over to, whatever this is setting us up for, will breathe some new meaning into the way we look at
and that big Wild West shootout between the sheriff and the bad guys. Woo!
Yeah, the problem with shootouts in Star Wars is they're really boring. It's, it's just pew, 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 and, the stormtroopers are terrible shots. And, their deal is space battle. It's not blaster battles. I mean, they're just really excuses to create chaos for the plot to run underneath. So,
so is next episode our Tombstone episode?
Could be. It is the episode in which he joins a group of mercenaries on a dangerous mission.
Right, Bill Burr, the Jawa I talked about. They're in the trailer. If you go back and look, Bill Burr. They actually had an article about Bill Burr's character because he has like a thing on his shoulder that shoots lasers, and while he shoots.
Yeah, I'll go back and take a look at that trailer again.
Everybody thinks he's the enemy of the Mandalorian, but the description says he joins them for something.
Well, but that doesn't mean he doesn't end up betraying him.
Yeah, that's true.
These are mercenaries.
Yeah. He's turned against his clients before, so.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yep.
But anything you guys are looking forward to as we move into the final 3 episodes of the season?
Obviously, the return of Toad.
Obviously, the return of Toad.
Just seeing what they got planned. I think they are going to try to shock us with how it ends. And season 2 is in the middle of being made, so it shouldn't be too long after that. I'm not looking forward to that Cassian Andor series that's coming, the one with the guy from Rogue One. I just don't see it. I never desired to. I mean, is this one of those? It's the show you didn't know you wanted, like Solo was. I mean,
here's how I feel about that, and I don't know if anyone else does, but
yeah.
I am actually going to be more optimistic about it. He's a great actor, and it's all about the world they create for him and the ensemble they create around him, and all those things can be. I feel about it the same way I did about Better Call Saul when I first heard they were making a Better Call Saul series. I was like, why? Breaking Bad stood on its own. It ended great. Why do we need to go into Saul Goodman and go in the past, and yet it has turned into an amazing show. So I'm going to give this show the same benefit of the doubt and let them, they've got very talented people working there.
Speaking of the new season of Better Call Saul is like being advertised constantly on AMC right now while they're showing Christmas movies.
Yeah, that's because it's coming in, is it January, I think?
I think so.
Yeah, it's coming soon, and thank God, because it's like half a year late. So
we're going to have lots of good shows to talk about at the start of the year.
Yeah, it's going to be 2020 is looking good for Super Geeks conversations. So
I
So
gotta
cool.
get going, but
Yeah, we're good. We're past our hour, so thank you all for joining us. Those of you listening,
Thank you.
thank you for being with us too. We'll be back next week, 9 o'clock Pacific time.
we'll also be back for the regular show.
On
I
yes,
won't
we
always
will
be able to make every show, but I can make some of them. So we'll see how I feel.
right. So the regular show is scheduled for December 13th. Remember, our Trello has is where we're building our list of topics. So feel free to visit that and comment in our Facebook page, Real Super Geeks, and so we'll be building that through the course of the week, and you can see how that's all coming together.
I want to point one thing out. I forgot to mention. Pedro Pascal is the bad guy in Wonder Woman 1984, whose trailer dropped today. So.
Yeah, that was an interesting trailer. I'm looking forward to talking about it on Friday.
Yeah. Oh yes, Friday's going to be loads of goodness with Crisis and everything else.
Oh yeah, we'll be talking about that too.
Oh yeah. All righty. Well.
All right, guys.
And it would be a shame if we didn't mention the passing of Renee after
Oh yeah, we will.
Yeah, Renee Auberjonois.
Talk about that too.
We'll definitely talk about.
Well, there's a lot of
on
deaths.
Friday.
Hopefully, no more.
Yeah, this was not a good week for Star Trek.
Yeah.
For actors and such,
let's hope no more. Let's hope. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and stop Facebook.
Peace out, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Right, thanks, everybody.
Bye.
And live stream is ending. And
I'm not gonna do the 2-hour shows. I don't know how long.